Kenny Omega's return from injury was one of the shining moments of last week's Dynamite and was one of the major factors as to why the episode seemed to be a step towards the right direction for AEW's future. Kenny oozes superstar every time he comes out, but never has it been more apparent than last week. Not having him for 9 months really made me realize how different this guy is compared to most of the roster. As they say, absence makes the heart grow fonder. The way I feel about Kenny Omega's aura and the way he carries himself is the same way I feel about Bryan Danielson or Kazuchika Okada in the ring. They're just at a different level. And while Kenny was strutting down to the ring, and as I watched his return intently, I was questioning why. Why does Kenny Omega feel so different from every other person in the ring right now? Why does he feel like such a bigger deal? But as the match progressed, it was almost as if Kenny was answering my question. There are a lot of fantastic professional wrestlers in the world right now who are wrestling in the big times, the major leagues as I call them, which is WWE, AEW, and New Japan Pro Wrestling. Some of them who are active are future Hall of Famers and all-time greats. I previously mentioned Bryan Danielson and Kazuchika Okada, but guys like Jay White, Zack Sabre Jr., Tetsuya Naito, Hiroshi Tanahashi, CM Punk, AJ Styles, and Randy Orton are all names that I would put at the top of my list. And don't get me wrong, there are a lot of other great in-ring technical wrestlers and a lot of great luchadors and high flyers and plenty of up-and-coming youngsters. There are also a lot of professional wrestlers on top of their game right now who you wouldn't really regard as the most technical wrestlers. But there's two things I find in common with the best wrestlers in the world, regardless of in-ring ability. One, the presentation of the wrestler, whether it be the character, the entrance, or the physical stature, always brings a larger than life perception to them. And two, no matter their in-ring ability, their dedication to the work is unwavering. Whenever they are on screen, whether it is in a wrestling capacity or not, they are in character. They are selling you on something. Their in-ring psychology is off the charts, and they give you no other option other than to be invested in them and their storylines. The most important thing in professional wrestling, whether people care to admit it or not, is believability. It is the root of professional wrestling. How well can you work a crowd? I could give examples of all the aforementioned wrestlers and how their in-ring psychology is the best in the world, but today we're focusing on Kenny Omega and his return and how his in-ring psychology made it that much better. Kenny Omega spent a decade of his career in Japan, and for those of you who don't watch New Japan Pro Wrestling, first of all, what are you doing? Give it a go. The English commentary is fantastic and the wrestling is even better. And second of all, a major focus of the product is the idea that professional wrestling is a sport. Kayfabe is still real to them, damn it, and they go above and beyond to sell you the product as genuine and believable. I have no doubt that a lot of what Kenny Omega learned in his career came from Japan and the Japanese style of selling. New Japan Pro Wrestling doesn't put on a weekly show like the North American companies. A large part of the calendar, and certainly the most important parts of the calendar outside of Wrestle Kingdom, are focused on tournaments. The major one of these being the G1 Climax, a tournament that just wrapped up recently, and in my opinion, the pinnacle of professional wrestling and professional wrestling achievements. But along with that, there is the New Japan Cup, Best of Super Juniors, and World Tag League. The point is that tournaments are stitched into the fabric of New Japan Pro Wrestling, and naturally, when wrestling a tournament, selling will become a major part of the story and a series of matches. I've watched G1 Climax Round 1 matches where a wrestler picks up an injury or a little niggle that they will continue to sell throughout the tournament. Wrestlers will target the same part of their opponent's body that was heavily attacked in the previous match, knowing and understanding that it is a point of weakness. The ring psychology is at an elite level, and I'm certain that Kenny Omega picked up on this during his time in his 3 years of G1 Climax tournaments. I don't want to sit here and take a shot at AEW or its professional wrestlers, but selling and ring psychology, I would have to say, across the board, leaves a little to be desired most of the time. And perhaps for some of you, it isn't a big deal, and you enjoy the spot fests. But more often than not, I find myself wishing the wrestlers would take the time to sell damage rather than getting hit with a super rana and popping up straight to their feet and delivering a standing Spanish fly. Sure, sometimes it's a spectacle, and the athleticism on display is truly phenomenal. And in moments, small moments, spots like this can be really effective. But when a majority of matches follows the Spotfest formula, it gets extremely repetitive, stale, and overall less entertaining than it really should be. It's probably why I've enjoyed CM Punk, Bryan Danielson, and Miro's work so much. Every so often, their matches may contain a holy shit moment, but really, when you look at their matches for what they are, it's just great in-ring storytelling. And truthfully, Kenny Omega is no different. In fact, he probably takes this psychology to another level. Every single moment that Kenny Omega is on camera, he is telling a story either through his words, his tone, his facial expressions, or body language. I made a note of this about Hangman Adam Page a little while ago, and we can only guess where he learnt that from. Kenny is a master at using body language to convey a message that never was more prevalent than on his return. Ring rust is just another element of wrestling that the Japanese have nailed, and Kenny Omega ran with this part of the ring psychology to its full effect in his return. I'm actually not entirely sure, and I'm not sure anybody is, how many times they were genuine botches and how many of them were him working the crowd. But one thing is certain, Kenny ran with the ring rust and made it a part of the match, even laughing at his own rustiness and taking extra time to catch his breath on the apron. Regardless if they were work or not, it was visibly clear that Kenny had not wrestled the match in 9 months. Shoot-wise, this tournament and this storyline is perfect for Kenny's return. He's not having physically tough singles matches in pursuit of the world title against the best of the best in AEW. He's able to take this spotlight off of himself and shine it on the Young Bucks while he takes a back seat. Kayfabe-wise, it's the exact same. Kenny is returning from multiple injuries, and there is no reason for him to risk re-injuring himself, but more importantly than that, Kenny's participation in the Trios tournament is a message from him that is not 100%. Again, kayfabe-wise, he is not the same Kenny Omega that is the longest reigning AEW World Champion. It is a subtle yet effective way of subliminally telling the audience that he's not at that level yet. That being said, there's no shame at all in competing in this tournament, and I'm certain the Trios titles will be held in high regard in AEW, but obviously at his peak, Kenny wouldn't be bothering with these titles. It's a very similar tale as when he and Hangman went for the AEW Tag Team Championships. They were great titles for Kenny to win, and the story that he and Hangman told is still regarded as one of, if not the best in AEW's short history, but many fans at the time considered the titles beneath Kenny, considering what he had done in his career and the level of titles he had become accustomed to winning. If Kenny can stay clear of injury, you could see he and the Young Bucks having a solid title reign before he moves back into the singles division, but it will take time, as any recovering athlete in any sport takes time to get back to full match fitness and recovers their former ability. You would hope that he can eventually get back to challenging for the AEW World title, and for me it would be a dream to see him back in Japan doing another G1 climax, but we also do need to temper expectations with Kenny Omega, considering he is now reaching the age of 40. With all the problems he's had with his body, it's also likely we may never see Kenny as world champion again. I'm so glad we got to see him carry out his world title reign and the storyline he had with Hangman. It feels like he's one major thing that he had to do in AEW. In fact, Kenny Omega is one of the biggest reasons towards Hangman being a legit main event level wrestler today. But regardless of whether he gets back to the top of the mountain or not, if there is one thing Kenny will make sure of, is that he tells a story in an endearing and sensical way. He will make sure he communicates to the audience the level that he's at and the mentality he has, whether it be obvious or not. I believe in the coming weeks, and with every match that goes on in this tournament, Kenny Omega will begin to slightly improve, but I still think by tournament's end, he's not going to be 100% of what we've seen from Kenny Omega. I think he's going to draw this out. I think throughout the title reign, he will slowly get better and better as a wrestler, and honestly, I do hope at the end of this Trios reign, he does go back to the singles division. It would actually be very interesting if Kenny Omega didn't go back to the world title. I know I'm fantasy booking right now, but imagine imagine he takes the All-Atlantic title to Japan? Oh my gosh. Take my fantasy booking notepad away from me, all right? It's too much now. No matter what he does, he will respect the ring psychology, and that's, at the end of the day, why I admire and hold Kenny Omega to such a high standard. He understands what the business is all about, and at the end of the day, it is ring psychology. Enjoy the rest of this Trios tournament, and keep a keen eye out on Kenny Omega and the little mannerisms that he gives you, because he will be sending you messages. It's whether or not you pick up on them. Let me know what you guys think and how much importance you all put on ring psychology. For me, it is the great differentiator in a good professional wrestler and a truly great professional wrestler. I will see you guys in the comment section below. I feel like I'm saying this every single video, but obviously, thank you so much for the support. If you have not liked the video as of yet and you've made it this far, let's be honest, you probably did like the video. So leave a like. The reason I ask is it helps in the algorithm and it gets to new viewers. A lot of you guys are actually new viewers. Like, I appreciate everybody that leaves a like. I appreciate everybody that comments, and I appreciate everybody that watches. You guys fill me with so much happiness with all your support, so I appreciate it very much, and I hope that I can reciprocate that and entertain you guys for just a short part of your week. So thank you very much for watching the video. If you did enjoy it, again, like I said, please leave a like. But most of all, I hope you're happy. I hope you're healthy. I'll see you in the next video very soon. Stay stunning, boys.